The emergency signal came through at 0400 hours. Commander Tejo was already awake, drinking his morning coffee in the quiet bridge of the Times, Resilience, **. He liked these early hours when the ship hummed softly and most of the crew still slept. The sudden red flashing light made him set down his cup. "Commander, we have an urgent transmission from the Galactic Federation," said Hei-1, the night shift communications officer. Her voice was tense. Tejo moved to the main screen. The face that appeared was not human. It belonged to a Velnar, a species that looked like tall, thin beings with pale blue skin and large, gentle eyes. This Velnar was clearly terrified. "Please, anyone who can hear this," the alien said, his voice shaking. "Our colony on Keswick 7 is under attack. The Dralgoth raiders came 3 days ago. They have surrounded us. They cut our supply lines. We have children here, families. We are not warriors. We are just farmers and scientists. Please help us." The message ended. Tejo stood silent for a moment, then pressed a button. "Wake the senior staff. Conference room in 15 minutes. 20 minutes later, Tejo sat at the table with his top officers. G1, the chief medical officer, looked worried. Hyun-sik, the tactical officer, was already studying data on his tablet. Bo-mi, the engineering chief, drummed her fingers on the table. "The Federation received the same message," Tejo said. "They called an emergency council meeting 2 hours ago. And?" G1 asked. "They voted to send thoughts and prayers," Tejo said, his voice flat. "No military support." "What?" Bo-mi stood up. "There are 3,000 Velnar on that colony. The Federation says Keswick 7 is too dangerous," Hyun-sik explained, reading from his tablet. "The planet has 1.8 times Earth gravity. The atmosphere is toxic. Temperature swings from -40 to +50 degrees. The wildlife is extremely aggressive. Every military species said their troops cannot operate there." G1 laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "That is less dangerous than Alaska in winter, or the Korean mountains where I grew up, or half of Australia. That is what I thought," Tejo said. He looked at each of his officers. "The Federation does not expect anyone to help the Velnar. They think those colonists will die." "What are we going to do?" Bo-mi asked, though her eyes said she already knew. "I am going to volunteer the Times, Resilience **, Tejo said. "But I will only take volunteers. This mission will be dangerous. The Federation thinks we will die too. Anyone who wants to stay behind can do so with no shame." The room was quiet for 3 seconds. "I am in," G1 said. "Obviously I am coming," Hyun-sik added. "Someone needs to keep this ship running," Bo-mi said with a small smile. "I guess that is me." By 0800 hours, all 47 crew members had volunteered. Not one person chose to stay behind. The Federation Council meeting was held by video link. Tejo stood in front of the camera, his uniform neat, his face calm. On the screen, he could see the council members. There were Palaxians, Korthi, Evendis, and a dozen other species. All of them looked uncomfortable. "Commander Tejo," said High Counselor Vren, a Palaxian who looked like a 4-armed bear. "We appreciate your offer, but we cannot allow it. Keswick 7 will kill your crew. Humans are tough, yes, but this planet is beyond what any species can handle." "With respect, Counselor, you are wrong," Tejo said. "My crew has studied the data. Keswick 7 is harsh, but Earth is harsher in many ways. We train in worse conditions. The gravity alone," another counselor started, "is something we can handle," Tejo interrupted. "Human soldiers on Earth train with extra weight. Our bodies adapt. Some of our crew grew up in Earth's high-gravity zones. The toxic atmosphere. We have filters, good ones, made for Earth's polluted industrial zones and chemical spills. They will work fine. The temperature changes. Earth has bigger temperature swings. I once worked in a place that went from -60 to +40 in one season. My medical officer grew up in mountains where the temperature dropped 50 degrees at night. This is normal for us. The council members looked at each other. They were clearly upset and confused. Commander, Counselor Vren said slowly, I do not think you understand. The wildlife on Keswick 7 includes predators that weigh 3 tons. They have armor like tanks. Earth has elephants, rhinos, hippos, and bears, G1 said, stepping into camera view. We learned to live with all of them. We learned to survive them. Some of us even learned to protect them. We will manage. This is madness, another counselor said. You will all die, and then the Federation will have failed both the Velnar and humanity. Teho stepped closer to the camera. Counselor, 3,000 people are about to die. They called for help. Someone has to answer. If the Federation will not go, then we will go. You can approve it or not. But we are leaving in 2 hours. The council meeting ended badly. Half the counselors voted to forbid the mission. Half voted to allow it. In the end, they decided humanity could go, but the Federation would not be responsible for what happened. As Teho walked back through the ship, crew members were already preparing. Donghyun, the security chief, was checking weapons. Yumi, the botanist who also had combat training, was packing medical supplies with G1. Sang-min, the youngest pilot, was running pre-flight checks. They think we are going to die, Bomi said, walking beside Teho. They do. Teho agreed. They do not understand, do they? What Earth made us. Teho thought about Earth. Beautiful, deadly Earth. The planet with hurricanes and earthquakes. With deserts that could cook you and ice caps that could freeze you. With animals that could kill you and diseases that could destroy you. With wars and struggles and disasters that kept coming, and yet humans survived. More than survived. They thrived. They adapted. They learned. They grew stronger. No, Teho said finally. They do not understand. But they will. The Times, Resilience Times, left Federation space 2 hours later. Behind them, the council watched the ship disappear. Some felt sad. They thought they would never see those humans again. Some felt angry. They thought humanity was being foolish and arrogant. None of them knew they were watching history being made. Inside the ship, Teho stood on the bridge. In front of him, the stars streaked by as they jumped to faster-than-light speed. Beside him, Hyun-sik displayed a map of Keswick 7. 3 days until we arrive, Hyun-sik said. The Dralgoth raiders have about 200 fighters. They have the colony surrounded. The Velnar have no weapons, no defenses. Then we have 3 days to plan, Teho said. He looked at his crew, all working at their stations, all focused and calm. They came from a death world. They grew up learning to survive the impossible. Now they would teach the galaxy what that meant. Hey one, Teho said. Send a message to the Velnar colony. Tell them help is coming. Tell them Earth remembers what it means to answer a distress call. As the message was sent across the stars, the crew of the Times, Resilience Times, prepared for what was coming. They did not know if they would succeed. They did not know if they would survive, but they knew they had to try, because that is what humans do. The Times Resilience Times dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Keswick 7 system. Immediately, alarms started beeping. Multiple hostile contacts. Hyun-sik reported. 12 Dralgoth warships in orbit around the planet. Smaller attack craft patrolling the atmosphere. Teho studied the screen. The Dralgoth ships were big and aggressive-looking, covered in weapons. They looked like metal sharks circling prey. They have seen us, Haewon said. Incoming transmission. The face that appeared on screen made several crew members gasp. The Dralgoth were not pleasant to look at. They had thick, gray skin, covered in rough scales. Their eyes were small and mean. Their mouths showed too many sharp teeth. This particular Dralgoth wore armor and weapons. His name, according to the translation, was Thragul. Well, well, Thragul said, his voice like rocks grinding together. The soft little humans came after all. I heard about you. The babies from the baby planet. You think you can fight us? He laughed, a horrible sound. We are here for the Velnar colonists, Teho said calmly. Leave now, and no one gets hurt. Thragul laughed harder. You have one small ship. One. We have 12 warships and 200 fighters. You have what? 50 humans? We will crush you. But first, we will let you watch the Velnar colony burn. Then we will take your ship apart piece by piece. I want to see if humans scream like other soft species. The transmission ended. Friendly guy, Bomi muttered. Can we fight 12 warships? Jiwan asked. No. Hyunsik said honestly. In open space, they would destroy us in minutes. We need a different approach. Then we go to the planet, Teho decided. We use the terrain. That is where they think we will fail. That is where we will win. The Resilience Times dove toward Keswick 7. The Dralgoth ships followed, firing weapons. Bomi piloted the ship expertly, dodging most of the blasts. A few hit the shields, making the ship shake. Entering atmosphere, Bomi announced. The ship shuddered as it hit the thick, toxic air. Through the windows, the crew got their first look at Keswick 7. It was not a pretty planet. Dark clouds covered most of the sky. The land below was covered in thick jungle, the plants looking twisted and strange. Mountains rose in jagged peaks. Rivers of strange-colored water cut through the landscape. There, Hyunsik pointed. The Velnar colony. Northwest of that mountain range. They could see it. A small cluster of buildings surrounded by walls. Around the walls were hundreds of Dralgoth fighters, their camps and weapons visible even from the air. The colony looked tiny and helpless. Finding a landing spot, Bomi said. Hold on. The ship dropped fast, diving into a canyon. The Dralgoth ships could not follow easily. The canyon was narrow, and the atmosphere was thick. Bomi set the ship down, on a rocky plateau, hidden by cliff walls. As the crew prepared to exit, G1 checked everyone's environmental suits. The suits would filter the toxic air and regulate temperature. They would also help with the heavy gravity. Remember, G1 said, the gravity is 1.8 times Earth normal. Move carefully at first. Let your body adjust. We trained for this. But take it slow, until you feel comfortable. Teho was the first to step outside. The moment his boots hit the ground, he felt the weight. It was like wearing a heavy backpack. Every step took more effort, but he had trained in weighted suits before. After a few moments, his body remembered how to move. The air inside his helmet smelled filtered and clean. Outside the suit, according to the sensors, the air was full of chemicals that would burn human lungs. The temperature was currently 15 degrees, but the suit said it would hit 45 by midday. Form up, Teho ordered. The crew gathered. They moved slower than normal, but they moved. Some looked uncomfortable. None looked scared. Donghyun, take a scout team. 6 people. Move toward the colony. Stay hidden. I want to know exactly what we are facing. Yumi, you go with them. Study the local plant life. See if anything can help us. Yes, sir, Donghyun said. The security chief selected his team quickly. Within 5 minutes, they disappeared into the jungle. The jungle was like nothing on Earth, but also exactly like things on Earth. The plants were huge, with thick trunks and wide leaves. Vines hung everywhere. The ground was soft and muddy. Strange sounds came from all directions. Donghyun led his team carefully. The heavy gravity made climbing harder, but not impossible. They moved through the jungle using skills learned in Earth's rainforests and mountains. Contact, one of the scouts whispered. Animal, Big. They all froze. Through the trees, something moved. It was huge. Easily 3 tons, like the Federation had said. It looked like a cross between a rhino and a bear, covered in thick armored plates. It had 4 eyes and a mouth full of teeth designed to crush. The creature sniffed the air. It turned toward the humans. "Do not move," Donghyun breathed. The creature took 1 step toward them. Then another. It was now 10 meters away. The team could feel the ground shake with each step. Then Yumi did something unexpected. She took an emergency flare from her belt and threw it hard to the left. The flare flew through the air and landed in some bushes, making a bright light and loud noise. The creature spun toward the noise and charged at it instead of the humans. Within seconds, it crashed through the bushes and disappeared, chasing the flare. "Smart," Donghyun said. "Earth has bears," Yumi said simply. "You distract them, redirect them. You do not fight them, unless you have to." They continued moving. An hour later, they reached a position overlooking the Dralgoth camp. It was worse than they thought. The Dralgoth had heavy weapons, barriers, and guard towers. They had the colony completely surrounded. Through their scopes, the team could see Velnar inside the colony walls. The aliens looked exhausted and scared. "The Dralgoth are not taking this seriously," Donghyun observed. "Look, they are drinking, playing games. They think this is already over. They are not expecting a fight," another scout said. Yumi was examining the plants around them. "Commander, these purple flowers here. My scanner says they produce a pollen that irritates Dralgoth skin. It is in all the plants around the colony. The Velnar chose this spot badly. The pollen does not hurt them, but it explains why the Dralgoth are staying back a bit." End quote. "Can we use that?" Donghyun asked. "Maybe," Yumi said, carefully taking samples. "I need to run tests." Back at the ship, Tae-ho received Donghyun's report. He studied the information carefully. The situation was bad, but not impossible. "They have us outnumbered 4-1, Hyun-sik said. "They have better weapons. They control all the approaches to the colony. But they think they have already won," Tae-ho said. "They think we are soft. They think this planet will kill us faster than they can. So we prove them wrong," Bomi said. "Tonight," Tae-ho decided. "We move tonight. The temperature will drop to -40. The Dralgoth data says they hate cold. It slows them down, makes them sluggish. Meanwhile, half our crew grew up in places that cold," Ji-won said with a smile. That night, as the temperature plummeted, the human crew moved out. They spread into teams. Hyun-sik led another to sabotage Dralgoth equipment. Bomi and her engineers worked to establish a communications link with the colony. The Dralgoth guards were miserable. They huddled around heaters, complaining about the cold. They did not see the humans moving through the darkness. By morning, the humans had surrounded the Dralgoth camp from the outside. They had placed sensors, traps, and defensive positions. They had mapped every guard post and weapon emplacement, and they had made contact with the Velnar. The Velnar colony leader was an elder named Shalven. When Bomi's communication came through, his thin face appeared on the small screen, filled with disbelief and hope. "You came," he whispered. "You actually came. But there are so few of you." "We are enough," Tae-ho said. "The Dralgoth will kill you. They are too strong. This planet is too harsh. Even for you." "This planet?" Tae-ho looked around at the hostile jungle, the heavy gravity, the extreme temperature. "This planet reminds me of home." In orbit above, Throggle watched his sensors. He could not understand what he was seeing. The human ship was hidden, but his scouts reported seeing humans moving in the jungle. Moving easily, moving like they belonged there. "Impossible," Throggle growled. "Nothing moves easily on that cursed planet. Find them. Kill them. Show these Deathworlders what happens when they interfere with the Dralgoth. But as he gave his orders, Throggle felt something he had not felt in a long time. He felt worried. The attack came at dawn, just as Taeho expected. Throggle was not patient. He wanted to crush the humans quickly and get back to terrorizing the Velnar. Incoming, Hyunsik reported calmly. 50 Dralgoth fighters. Moving toward our positions from 3 directions. Taeho watched from his command post, a rocky outcrop that gave him a view of the battlefield. His crew was spread out in defensive positions between the Dralgoth and the colony. 47 humans against 200 Dralgoth. The Federation would call this suicide. Taeho called it Tuesday. Let them come close, he said into his communicator. Wait for my signal. The Dralgoth moved through the jungle confidently. They were big creatures, strong and mean. They carried heavy weapons designed to destroy vehicles. They thought they were hunting scared humans. They were wrong about that. Now. Taeho said quietly. The jungle exploded with action. The humans had spent the night placing traps and ambush points. As the Dralgoth advanced, they walked into carefully prepared kill zones. Donghyun's security team opened fire from elevated positions. Their weapons were smaller than Dralgoth guns, but they were precise. Aimed. Every shot counted. More importantly, the humans had studied the terrain. Hyunsik had identified areas where the ground was unstable, where the heavy gravity made certain paths dangerous, where the local wildlife nested and did not like being disturbed. The Dralgoth advance fell apart. They expected a straight fight. Instead, they got chaos. Traps triggered. The ground collapsed under their weight. Angry 3-ton creatures charged out of disturbed nests, attacking anything that moved. They are falling back, Hyunsik reported. First wave retreating. 20 Dralgoth down, Donghyun added. No human casualties. Taeho allowed himself a small smile. Prepare for the second wave. They will be angry now. In his command ship, Throggle was indeed angry. He was also confused. How did 50 humans stop his first attack? How were they moving so well in this terrible environment? Send 100 fighters, he ordered. Overwhelm them with numbers. I do not care about losses. Kill them all. The second attack was larger and more aggressive. The Dralgoth came in hard, firing everything they had. The jungle burned. Trees fell. The ground shook with explosions, but the humans were not where the Dralgoth expected them to be. They moved. They adapted. They used the terrain that the Dralgoth hated. Yumi's discovery about the purple pollen proved useful. Bomi and her engineers had created bombs that spread the pollen in thick clouds. When Dralgoth fighters entered these clouds, their skin began to itch and burn. Their eyes watered. They became distracted and sloppy. The humans, safe in their environmental suits, picked them off. Still, numbers matter. The Dralgoth pushed closer to the human lines. A heavy weapons team broke through on the eastern flank. They were heading straight for the colony. Donghyun, eastern breach, Taeho called. On it, Donghyun and 5 security officers intercepted the Dralgoth team in a narrow canyon. The heavy gravity made the canyon floor treacherous. The Dralgoth, carrying heavy weapons, moved slowly. The humans, trained for this, moved like water. They used the canyon walls, climbing positions the Dralgoth thought were impossible. They attacked from above and from the sides. In 5 minutes, the threat was eliminated, but the fighting took its toll. 2 humans were injured. Not badly, but enough that they needed medical attention. G1 had set up a field hospital in a cave near the colony. She worked with 2 medical assistants, treating wounded humans as they came in. The heavy gravity made everything harder. Moving patients, holding instruments. Even breathing took more effort. Your arm is broken, G1 told one security officer. Can you splint it? The officer asked. I can still shoot with my other hand. G1 wanted to argue. She was a doctor. She wanted her patients to recover properly. But she was also a soldier's daughter. She understood. I will splint it, she agreed. But if it gets worse, you come back immediately. The officer nodded and returned to the fight. The battle continued for 12 hours straight. The Dralgoth kept attacking in waves. The humans kept stopping them. It was exhausting work. The heavy gravity drained energy faster. The temperature swings went from -40 at night to +45 during the day. The toxic atmosphere meant they could never take off their helmets. Any other species would have collapsed. The Velnar, watching from their colony, could not believe what they were seeing. These humans just kept fighting. How? Shalven asked Bomi during one communication. How are your people still standing? My people are exhausted just watching. We are safe inside the colony, and we are tired. You have been fighting for half a day, in conditions that should kill you. Bomi was covered in dirt and sweat. She had been repairing equipment, setting new traps, and coordinating defensive positions. She looked at the Velnar elder and tried to explain. Where we come from, she said slowly. Every day is a fight to survive. Our planet has storms that can destroy cities, deserts that kill in hours, mountains that freeze you solid, oceans that swallow ships, animals that hunt us, diseases that spread fast. We learn to adapt or die. But surely your planet has safe places, Shalven said. Bomi laughed tiredly. Our safe places have hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, droughts. There is nowhere on Earth that does not try to kill you somehow. So we learn to be stubborn. We learn to keep going when everything says to stop. We learned that 12 hours of fighting is just getting started. As night fell again, the temperature dropped. The Dralgoth attacks slowed. They hated the cold. They pulled back to their camps and heaters. The humans used the break to rotate shifts. Half the crew rested, while half stayed on guard. Even in rest, they were ready to fight in seconds. Teho walked the defensive line, checking on his people. They were tired. Some had minor injuries. All of them were still determined. How much longer can we hold? Hyunsik asked quietly. As long as we need to, Teho replied. The Federation reinforcements are coming. We just need to keep the Velnar safe until they arrive. That is 3 more days. Then we fight for 3 more days. Hyunsik looked at his commander. The crew is calling this the 2nd day. You know what that means? Teho nodded. In Earth's history, there were many famous last stands. Many battles where small forces held against larger ones. On the 2nd day, the defenders always faced the hardest attacks. The enemy threw everything at them, trying to break their will. Let them come, Teho said. We have held for 1 day. We can hold for 3. In his ship, Throggle studied the battle reports. His forces had lost 60 fighters. 60 against 50 humans. It made no sense. The planet should be helping him. The environment should be killing the humans. Instead, the humans seemed to thrive in it. They moved through the harsh terrain like it was their home. They fought in the extreme cold like it was comfortable. They kept going when they should have collapsed from exhaustion. Thragul had raided 50 planets. He had fought 20 different species. He had never seen anything like this. What are these Deathworlders made of? He asked his second-in-command. According to our database, Commander, they are made of the same basic biology as most species. Carbon-based. Oxygen breathers. They should be weak. Then why are they winning? The second-in-command had no answer. Thragul made a decision. Tomorrow, we attack with everyone. Every fighter. Every weapon. We end this in one massive assault. I do not care how tough these humans think they are. Numbers will win. As the 3rd day dawned, the humans prepared for what was coming. They could see the Dralgoth forces gathering. Every fighter. Every vehicle. Every weapon. This is it, Taeho told his crew. This is where they try to break us. They think if they hit us hard enough, we will run. Will we? Someone asked. Taeho looked at his crew. Tired, dirty, determined crew. People from a planet that never stopped testing them. People who learned that when the universe pushed, you pushed back harder. No, he said simply. We do not run. We are humans. Running is not what we do. The final assault began. 200 Dralgoth fighters attacked at once. The jungle lit up with weapons fire. The ground shook. The air filled with smoke and noise. And 47 humans stood their ground. They fought like their planet had taught them. With cleverness. With determination. With a refusal to give up that the Dralgoth could not understand. The battle was fierce. The outcome was uncertain. But the humans did not break. They never broke. The massive assault had been stopped, but barely. The humans held their ground, but the cost was high. 10 crew members were injured. Ammunition was running low. Everyone was exhausted. Then, the news came that made everything worse. Commander, I am picking up a distress signal, Haewon said, her voice tight with stress. It is coming from inside Dralgoth territory. Behind their lines. Taeho moved to her station. Who is sending it? Velnar. 200 of them. They were in the mining tunnels when the Dralgoth attacked. The tunnels collapsed. They have been trapped there for 3 days. Velnar. 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 Are they alive? G1 asked. Yes, but barely. Their air supply is failing. They have 6 hours of oxygen left. Maybe less. Taeho looked at the map. The mining tunnels were 5 kilometers behind enemy lines. The Dralgoth controlled all the territory between the human position and the tunnels. Getting there would be impossible. Getting there and back with 200 Velnar would be beyond impossible. The Federation is sending a message, Haewon continued. They say we should focus on defending the colony. They say the trapped Velnar cannot be saved. They say attempting rescue would risk everyone. The bridge was silent. Every crew member knew the Federation was right. The rescue was impossible. They did not have the people. They did not have the time. They barely had enough strength left to hold their current position. I need volunteers, Taeho said quietly. Every hand went up. Taeho felt his throat tighten. These people, these beautiful, crazy, stubborn people. I can only take 4. The rest need to hold this position. He selected carefully. Dong-hyun for security and combat skills. Yu-mi for her knowledge of the terrain. Ji-won because the trapped Velnar would need medical help. Ki-won, the demolitions expert, because they would need to blast through collapsed tunnels. We leave in 20 minutes, Taeho said. Hyun-sik, you have command while I am gone. If we are not back in 6 hours, forget about us. Defend the colony. Hyun-sik wanted to argue. He wanted to say that was a terrible order. But he was a soldier. He nodded. Yes, sir. Bomi pulled Taeho aside. This is crazy, even for us. I know. You will probably die down there. I know that too. Bomi hugged him fiercely. Then you better come back. I did not fix this stupid ship 50 times just to have you die in a tunnel. The rescue team geared up. They took minimal weapons to move faster. They packed extra oxygen tanks. Ki-won loaded explosives and cutting tools. Ji-won brought medical supplies. Moving through enemy territory was terrifying. The Dralgoth were everywhere. The team had to move slowly, carefully, using every bit of cover. The heavy gravity made crawling exhausting. The toxic air meant they could not rest safely anywhere. Twice, they almost got spotted. Once, a Dralgoth patrol passed within 3 meters of where they hid. Another time, one of those massive 3-ton creatures nearly stumbled on them. This is insane, Ki-won whispered. Welcome to humanity, Dong-hyun replied. After 3 hours of careful movement, they reached the tunnel entrance. It was completely collapsed. Tons of rock, blocked the way. Can we dig through? Taeho asked. Kiwan studied it with his scanning equipment. Not from here. Too much rock. It would take days. But look here. He pointed at his scanner. There is a cave system below us. It connects to the mining tunnels. If we go down, we can approach from underneath. How far down? Yumi asked. 40 meters. And then? Ji-won said. Then we blast through the floor of the mining tunnel from below. That will make noise, Dong-hyun observed. Every Dralgoth in 5 kilometers will hear it. Yes, Ki-won agreed. They looked at each other. The mission had gone from impossible to suicidal. Let us go, Taeho said. The cave system was worse than the jungle. It was dark, narrow, and unstable. The heavy gravity made climbing down difficult. Strange sounds echoed through the caves. The temperature dropped to -30. Water dripped from somewhere, creating slick surfaces. Twice, someone slipped. Each time, the others caught them before they fell. I hate caves, Yumi muttered. Give me a jungle any day. At least there are no 3-ton monsters down here, Dong-hyun said. Something growled in the darkness ahead. You had to say it, Ki-won sighed. The creature that emerged was not 3 tons. It was smaller, maybe half a ton. But it was built for caves. It had 6 legs, multiple eyes that glowed in the dark, and a mouth that was mostly teeth. Do not shoot, Taeho ordered. Noise will bring the Dralgoth. Then what do we do? Yumi asked as the creature moved closer. Taeho remembered his training. Earth had cave predators too. Bears in caves. Big cats in caves. They all reacted to certain things. He turned on his helmet's brightest light and shined it directly at the creature. The intense light hurt the cave-adapted eyes. The creature hissed and backed away, disappearing into a side tunnel. That was smart, Ji-won said. That was luck, Taeho admitted. They continued downward. Time was running out. They could hear their communicators counting down. 5 hours of oxygen left for the trapped Velnar. 4 hours. 3. Finally, Ki-won stopped. Here. We are directly below the mining tunnel. The Velnar should be 15 meters above us. Can you blast through without killing them? Taeho asked. Ki-won looked at his equipment. At the rock above. At the tools he had. Maybe. 70% chance. And the other 30%? We bring the whole tunnel down on their heads. Those are terrible odds, Ji-won said. Best I can do. Ki-won replied. Do it, Taeho decided. Ki-won set his charges carefully. He used his scanner to find the weakest points in the rock. He calculated angles and force. He double-checked everything 3 times. Everyone back, he finally said. This is going to be loud. The explosion shook the entire cave system. Rock fell from the ceiling. Dust filled the air. The noise was deafening. Above them, a hole appeared. Light poured through. And faces. Velnar faces. Looking down in shock and hope. Hello, Taeho called up. Anyone need a ride? Getting 200 Velnar out of the tunnel was a nightmare. They were weak from lack of oxygen and food. The heavy gravity was crushing them. Many could barely walk. Ji-won and Yumi went up first to assess the situation. The Velnar were in bad shape. Some had injuries. All were close to suffocating. We need to move fast, Ji-won said. Their oxygen is almost gone. And that explosion definitely alerted the Dralgoth. They started moving the Velnar down into the cave system. It was slow work. The Velnar were not built for climbing. The humans had to help each one, supporting their weight, guiding their movements. Contact. Dong-hyun called from his position, watching the tunnel entrance above. Dralgoth coming. A lot of them. How long? Taeho asked. 5 minutes, maybe less. They had evacuated 50 Velnar. 150 to go. Not enough time. Change of plan, Taeho said. Ki-won, can you seal this tunnel behind us? Ki-won looked at the tunnel structure. Yes, but it will trap us in the cave system. We will need to find another way out. Better than fighting 200 Dralgoth in a tunnel. Do it. They worked frantically. Every human helped move Velnar. Even injured crew members pushed themselves to carry the weak aliens. The gravity that made the Velnar helpless barely slowed the humans. Last one coming through, Yumi called. Charge is set. Ki-1 reported. Everyone down. Now. 1. Now. The team scrambled down into the cave. The last Velnar was pulled to safety. Above them, they could hear Dralgoth voices. Angry voices. Blow it, Teho ordered. The explosion sealed the tunnel. Tons of rock fell, blocking the entrance completely. They could hear the Dralgoth on the other side, trying to dig through. That will take them hours, Ki-1 said, with satisfaction. Good, Teho said. Because we need hours to get these people out. The journey through the caves with 200 weakened Velnar was the hardest thing any of them had done. The Velnar could not climb well. They struggled with the heavy gravity. They were terrified of the darkness and the strange creatures. But the humans did not give up. They supported the Velnar. They encouraged them. They refused to leave anyone behind. G1 shared her oxygen supply with Velnar, who were struggling. She reduced her own air to dangerous levels. When Yumi noticed, she wanted to argue, but G1 just smiled. We came here to save them, G1 said. I am not failing now. After 4 hours of the hardest work of their lives, the rescue team emerged from the caves. They were on the opposite side of the mountain. In territory the Dralgoth had not secured. 200 saved Velnar. 5 exhausted humans. Status? Teho asked into his communicator. Commander! Hyunsik's voice was full of relief. We thought you were dead. The Dralgoth have been searching everywhere for you. We are alive. All of us. Including 200 Velnar. We are bringing them to the colony now. ETA. 2 hours. There was silence on the communicator. Then Hyunsik's voice came back, full of something that might have been tears. You did the impossible thing again, sir. Welcome back. G1 collapsed as soon as they reached safety. Her oxygen levels were critical. The medical team worked frantically to stabilize her. Is she going to be okay? One of the Velnar asked quietly. Yes, the medical assistant said. She just gave almost all her air. To save your people. She will recover. The Velnar looked at the unconscious doctor. At the humans who saved them. At these strange, stubborn people from a death world who refuse to leave anyone behind. They are heroes, the Velnar whispered. The rescue of the 200 Velnar changed everything. The news spread through the colony, spread through the Dralgoth forces, spread across the galaxy through Federation channels. The humans did the impossible thing. Again, G1 woke up 12 hours later in the medical bay. Her head hurt, her lungs ached, but she was alive. You are an idiot, Bomi said, sitting beside her bed. A brave idiot, but still an idiot. You almost died. Almost does not count, G1 said with a weak smile. How long was I out? Half a day. You missed all the excitement. What excitement? Bomi's smile got bigger. The Velnar want to fight. G1 sat up too fast, and her head spun. What? After you brought back their people, something changed. The colonists you saved told everyone what happened. How you shared your oxygen. How the humans carried them through caves. How you refused to leave anyone behind. Now the Velnar want to help defend their colony, but they are not warriors. They cannot fight the Dralgoth. No. But they can do other things. They are helping us build defenses. Carrying supplies. Treating wounded. They are not strong fighters, but they are trying. Because you showed them what trying looks like. Teho was on the bridge when the message came through. It was from Throggle, human commander, the Dralgoth said. His voice was different now. Less confident. Less mocking. You have proven stronger than I expected. But this ends today. I am bringing my entire force down from orbit. Every ship, every weapon, every fighter. We will crush your position before the Federation reinforcements arrive. You could leave, Teho suggested. Take your ships and go. You have already lost more fighters than you gained from this raid. I am Dralgoth, Throggle said proudly. We do not run from battles. Neither do humans, Teho replied. So I guess we both stay. The transmission ended. Hyunsik looked worried. If he brings everything down, if all his ships attack at once, we cannot win. We are too few. Teho looked at the tactical display. Hyunsik was right. The math was simple and brutal. 47 exhausted humans and 3,000 Velnar colonists against Throggle's entire fleet and remaining forces. Then we do not fight them where they are strong, Teho said slowly. We do what humans do best. We adapt. He called a meeting with all senior staff and the Velnar colony leaders. Shalven attended, along with several other Velnar, who had taken leadership roles. Thragul is coming with everything he has, Teho explained. He will attack during the next ion storm. That is in 6 hours. The storm will ground our ship and disrupt communications. He thinks we will be helpless. Will we be? Shalven asked. The storm will ground his ships too, Hyunsik said. Level the playing field a bit. But he still has hundreds of fighters and we have 47 combat-ready humans, Donghyun pointed out. So we do not fight them directly, Teho said. We lead them into the planet, into the parts that are worst, into the terrain that the Federation warned us about, the places that kill. You want to use Keswick 7 itself as a weapon, Yumi said slowly. Yes. This planet is deadly, but only if you do not know how to survive it. We learned how to survive it. The Dralgoth did not. For the next 6 hours, the humans and Velnar worked together. They identified the most dangerous areas of the jungle, places with unstable ground, nests of aggressive creatures, toxic pools, steep cliffs in the heavy gravity. The Velnar, who had studied the planet for years, knew where these dangers were. The humans knew how to use them as weapons. This is crazy, one Velnar scientist said. You are going to lead them into areas we specifically marked as uninhabitable. Yes, Teho agreed. And we are going to survive it. They will not. The ion storm hit like a hammer. The sky turned black. Lightning flashed constantly. The wind screamed. Rain fell in sheets. The water strange colors from the chemicals in the atmosphere. It was the worst storm the Velnar had ever seen on Keswick 7. They huddled in their shelters, terrified. The humans put on their environmental suits and went outside. This is just like monsoon season back home, one crew member said. Reminds me of typhoons in the Pacific, another agreed. Throggle's forces landed in the storm. His ships set down in the only clear area they could find. His fighters dismounted, weapons ready. They expected to find the humans hiding. Instead, they found an empty camp, and a message displayed on a screen. Come and get us, Throggle. If you are brave enough. Throggle roared with anger. Track them. Find them. I want every human dead. The Dralgoth forces followed the human trail into the jungle. The storm made visibility almost zero. The rain made the ground slippery. The wind tore at their equipment. This is miserable, one Dralgoth fighter complained. Why are we chasing them in this storm? And because Commander Thragul ordered it. His squad leader snapped. Now move. They moved. Deeper into the jungle, farther from their ships, the humans watched from concealed positions. They had spent 6 hours preparing this battlefield. Now they would see if their plan worked. First unit entering the unstable ground zone, Hyunsik reported from his observation post. 50 Dralgoth fighters advanced across what looked like solid ground. But the recent rains had softened the earth. The heavy gravity made the Dralgoth heavier. The ground gave way. Fighters fell into sinkholes, into mud pits, into underground rivers. Their heavy armor dragged them down. The humans heard their screams through the storm. Second unit approaching the nest zone, Donghyun called. The humans had identified several nests of those 3-ton armored creatures. During the storm, these creatures became aggressive, defending their territory. When the Dralgoth stumbled into the nesting area, the creatures attacked. The storm prevented the Dralgoth from calling for air support, prevented them from coordinating. They fought the creatures in small groups, separated and scared. Third unit in the cliff area. This was perhaps the cruelest trap. The humans had led the Dralgoth to an area with beautiful views. But the edge was closer than it looked in the storm, and the heavy gravity meant that once you started falling, you fell fast and hard. More screams in the darkness. Thragul realized too late what was happening. The humans were not running. They were hunting, using the planet itself as a weapon, leading his forces into death traps. "Pull back," he ordered. "Return to the ships." But pulling back in the storm was just as dangerous as advancing. The Dralgoth were lost, separated. The humans, moving easily through terrain they had learned to navigate, picked them off, one by one, not with battles, with the environment, with careful planning, with knowledge that came from growing up on a planet that tried to kill you every day. By the time the storm cleared, Thragul had lost 2/3 of his ground forces. His ships were damaged by the storm. His fighters were demoralized and broken. Taeho's voice came over the communication channel. "Thragul, it is over. Surrender now. Your people will be treated well." "Why?" Thragul asked, his voice tired and confused. "Why show mercy? We tried to kill you. We raided peaceful colonies. Why let us live?" "Because that is what humans do," Taeho said simply. "We fight when we have to, but we stop when we can. Surrender. This does not need to end with more death." There was a long silence. Then Thragul appeared on screen. He looked defeated, broken. "I surrender. On behalf of my forces, I surrender to the Deathworlders." When the Federation reinforcements finally arrived 2 days later, they found something unexpected. The Velnar colony was safe. The Dralgoth forces were captured and waiting for Federation security, and the humans were helping to rebuild. The Federation Council called an emergency session. They wanted to understand what happened, how 50 humans defeated a force that should have killed them easily. Taeho stood before the council again. This time, no one questioned him. No one doubted. "Commander Taeho," High Counselor Vren said quietly, "we owe you and your crew an apology. We thought you would fail. We thought you would die. We did not understand." "Understand what?" Taeho asked. "What it means to come from a death world. Your planet made you strong in ways we never imagined. Not just physically, but mentally. You do not give up. You do not leave people behind. You find solutions where others see only problems." Shalven stepped forward to address the council. "The humans saved us. Not just from the Dralgoth. They saved us from despair. They showed us what courage looks like, what heroism looks like." "The Federation has voted," Counselor Vren announced. "We would like to establish permanent human crisis response units. Teams that can respond to situations too dangerous for other species. If humanity agrees." Taeho looked at his crew. At G1, still recovering but standing strong. At Donghyun and Yu-mi and Bo-mi and all the others who answered when someone called for help. "We agree," he said. "But only on one condition. We choose our missions. We help those who need it most. We do not become weapons. We become heroes." The council agreed. Back on the Times, Resilience *, the crew prepared to depart. The Velnar colonists lined up to say goodbye. Many were crying. All of them were grateful. "Where will you go next?" Shalven asked Taeho. "There is a distress call from a mining colony in the Outer Rim," Haewon reported. "The planet is experiencing volcanic eruptions. All other rescue teams declared it too dangerous. Bomi laughed. Of course they did. Sounds like they need us, Ji-won said. Sounds like an adventure, Dong-hyun added. Tae-ho looked at his crew. These impossible, wonderful people, people who came from a planet that never stopped testing them, people who learned that when others need help, you answer the call. Set course for the outer rim, he ordered. Someone needs heroes. Let us go deliver some heroism. The Times, Resilience Times, lifted off from Keswick 7. Behind them, the Velnar waved goodbye. Across the galaxy, the story spread. The story of the Deathworlders who delivered heroism when no one else would. In Federation space, the term human started to mean something new. It meant courage. It meant determination. It meant refusing to give up even when everything was impossible. It meant that when you called for help, someone would answer. Even if that someone came from a death world called Earth, especially if they came from Earth, because humans had learned something their planet taught them well. Survival was not enough. What mattered was who you saved along the way.